IPMNation.com.
This is Luke Dimond, and you're listening to Local Outbreak on IPM Nation.
Local Outbreak on IPM Nation. This is Matt from IPM Nation, and we're here at the studio at 50 Canal Street in downtown Laconia as we record Local Outbreak here every Tuesday evening. So come on down, check it out. The studio, funky little gift shop and art gallery, and very, very cool place. TheStudioNH.com is a website if you want to check it out online, but please support your local businesses as well as your local music scene. Very, very important. And please come down and check it out. And let's see, we've also got Central NH Events. If you need a DJ for your event, you need a DJ for your shindig, your hootenanny, your corporate function, whatever it may be, give Tim Martin a call at centralnhevents.com. That's the website, and I'm sure his phone number's on there too if you want to literally give him a call. Central NH Events. Who really does that anymore? Nobody calls anybody. Everyone texts now and emails and all that. But centralnhevents.com. Tim does a great job and is a big part of what makes this show possible. And we're also sponsored by Tweak Sound and Mastering. Matt Marcil does a great job. If you need some recording done, tweaksound.com is the website. He is right in Concord, New Hampshire. Tweak Sound and Mastering. And let's see, of course, also IPMNation.com. We broadcast from the Uptown Auto Repair Studio in Manchester, New Hampshire. So not for this show. We do this show at the studio, but all our live programming is down at Uptown Auto Repair in Manchester. Mr. John Heichel, the owner and proprietor there. And another big part of what makes all of this possible. And I would also just like to give a shout out to Granite State Underground, Zach Smith, who sort of indirectly hooked us up with our guest tonight. And we have with us here at the studio tonight, Luke Dimond. How are you, sir?
Good. How are you?
Good. So thank you to Zach Smith and then Zach DeFosse.
DeFosse.
Yes. Who apparently, we're talking off air, helps you out a lot.
Yeah, he's a great friend. We did a kind of a podcast type thing before this, and this actually kind of prepared me for it. But I don't know, he's just been super helpful so far, and he has a lot in his vision for music in the Lakes.
Cool.
It's really cool.
Does he play in a band currently, or what does he do?
He right now he's kind of a solo musician. He does like piano, keys type, really anything in that range there. But he's played a big part in the Franklin music scene for a while. So
wow!
Great dude.
We'll have to get him on the show. I'll invite him. Yeah, absolutely. And thank you to him for hooking me up with you. And now you have a solo project now.
I do.
And I was familiar, again, as we were talking off here, I was familiar with your work in Anchor Lines, the band that you were in until recently, I guess?
Yeah, just about 6 months ago. You know, things happen. We decided to go our separate ways. You know, I started school, things like that. You know, professional things. Yeah, absolutely. And you have a single out. I do. Actually, just released a single in November called Birthday for my fiance's birthday.
Oh, no kidding. Very cool.
Yeah, really cool.
See, you make the rest of us, I'm sure I'm not the first one to tell you this, you make the rest of us guys look bad.
No.
When you do stuff like that for your
not the intention.
It's like, what'd you do for your girlfriend for Valentine's Day? Not much. What did you do? Oh, I recorded a song and released it as a single.
Yeah. No, that's what I do.
Yeah, no, good for you, man. That's very cool. Why don't we play that, and then we'll come back and we'll chat some more.
Absolutely.
All right, so this is Birthday, the new solo single from Luke Dimond here on Local Outbreak on IPM Nation.
Flowers to put on your shelf. They're not as pretty as you, but I hope to God they'll help. Put a smile on your face. inside my world, solid proof that you are the most beautiful girl. So I'm gonna hold on to what keeps me warm, and baby, that is you. Please know that I wrote this song for your birthday, but just so you know, it doesn't have to be your birthday for me to love you. Sends me to a warm, calm place, destined to spend my life gazing into that pretty face. I'll sit here and wonder if you're feeling the same. Warmth in your heart and the calm in your brain. So I'm gonna hold on to what keeps me warm, and baby, that is you. Please know that I wrote this song for your birthday, but just so you know, it doesn't have to be your birthday for me. So I'm gonna hold on to what keeps me warm, and baby, that is you. Please know that I wrote this song for your birthday, but just so you know, it doesn't have to be your birthday for me to love you.
Local Outbreak on IPM Nation. We are back at the studio with Luke Dimond, who is our guest this week. And so, Luke, this is very new. The single Birthday. When did this come out?
I released it pretty much as I recorded it. I released it as soon as I got the first copy, just because I was kind of in a crunch time to have it released for my fiance's birthday. But I think I released it on the 23rd, and from then on, it kind of just like shot off to be a lot more than I really intended it to be. Yeah. And it was just really cool, the reactions I got from it. Because you put it on YouTube, right? Yep. And then did it get just a lot more views than you were expecting? I mean, that and it's got a couple thousand views so far. But I was not expecting that at all. And one of the things that, I didn't plan on doing, but did just because I saw, people were actually enjoying it was, throw it on YouTube, throw it on Spotify, all those, digital media outlets. But, no, it got way more of a reaction than I thought it would. Wow. And than I intended it to be, because it was originally just a present. It wasn't, it wasn't, me trying to start this whole fire here, but I'm really happy with where it's going. That is really cool. Now, what was it that precipitated doing the solo career? Because you were in Anchor Lines for years, right? Yeah, I was in Anchor Lines for, it was about 3.5 years, maybe almost 4 years. Yeah. And you guys went on tour and the whole deal? We went on tour. I toured with them for probably about 2.5 years. With things like that, it was, it had its ups and downs. And then towards the end of Anchor Lines, I actually went on Vans Warped Tour with one of my friends' bands, Paris. They're from this area as well. Cool. And it kind of opened my eyes to new opportunities and stuff like that. And kind of, what more was out there. And I had already, signed up for school and done things like that. And I really needed to just, take my time to do, professional things, get my life on track before pursuing a full on music career. Yeah. But that was kind of like a thing that everyone kind of agreed on. Okay. everyone had full-time jobs. Some of the guys had done college before. Anchor Lines had even, kicked off. But from then on, it was kind of just a mutual decision for us to disband. We're all still friends. I love those guys. Corwin, Ryan, Jeff, and Nick are, my brothers forever. So,
yeah. Oh, that's really cool because, obviously it doesn't always end that way.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. And I'm grateful that it didn't end that way.
Yeah.
So.
And what's cool about that too is if you guys decide to revisit it at some point in the future,
could definitely happen.
It's a lot easier to do it if everyone parted on good terms.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. It would definitely be fun to do that.
That's really cool. So in terms of doing the solo thing now, is that easier because, you have other things to focus on like school? Is it just kind of easier to work that in as opposed to being in a band where you've got kind of multiple schedules to try to adapt to? And
I absolutely think it's a little bit easier. I guess it can get kind of lonely, I guess.
Yeah.
But, and it's always nice to have other senses of musicianship included in the music that you're performing or writing or whatever. But at the same time, it just kind of allows me more independence. And obviously, if I was in Anchor Lines, we wouldn't be writing a song for my fiance's birthday.
Right.
So that's kind of something that, in a way, in a totally different aspect, it's definitely easier. And it's more fun in a different way, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of just like I've done both now, and it's kind of just like a really fulfilling thing to kind of transition like that. I love it.
You actually could have done that if you think about it with Anchor Lines. You just wouldn't be able to tell them. Really.
Yeah. You kind of have to just have to mask it over a little bit.
Be very stealth about it. Yeah. Tell them after.
Be very broad. Right, it isn't about anyone. It's not about anyone.
And we were talking earlier too. I became aware of Anchor Lines through Scott Perry. Scott used to be involved with the show, so we'll give him a little shout out from the Siren Agency.
Scott Perry.
I don't know if the Siren Agency is doing anything now, but we still have their have a radio channel for them up on IPM Nation, the TSA radio channel, and you guys had a track in rotation there, Stay Down, which is still there. We're gonna play some other Anchor Line stuff tonight, some more recent stuff. So, but yeah, we had for example, John from Transpire,
great guy. I miss that guy.
John Reif. We had him on recently, and he's kind of in a similar situation in a way. He played in a bunch of bands. Transpire, Quick Decision.
Remember those days?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And, he was kind of talking about that, how, when you're used to being in bands and then you kind of do the solo thing, it really is kind of freeing.
Yeah.
Not just in terms of scheduling, you don't have to check with a bunch of people if you get an offer for a show, but also just creatively.
Yeah.
He seemed to really be enjoying the creative freedom.
Absolutely.
Especially since, the kind of stuff he's doing sounds nothing like what he was doing in those bands. Did you always kind of have it in mind that you might do a solo thing, or did this just kind of happen where just circumstances dictated it?
For the whole time I was in Anchor Lines, I always kind of did my own thing as well on the side. I just never really took it seriously, in a business aspect, or I didn't have like a page up or anything.
Yeah. Did you go out and play solo shows, or what were you doing?
I didn't. Really? And that's the thing is I wanted to, but at the same time, it was just kind of like, conflicting schedules with the band and with, work and things like that. It never worked out to be like that.
Yeah.
But I had always done like covers on YouTube and stuff like that, people liked.
Yeah.
And after the disbandment of Anchor Lines, I kind of realized, I could still do music on the side and do school and balance everything in a healthy way, rather than trying to focus everything on a band or everything on school and not have time for the things I want to do.
Right.
So, no, it was definitely something that was like prolonging while I was in Anchor Lines, because when I wasn't playing shows and I wasn't on tour and things like that, I was in my room playing guitar and doing homework.
Yeah.
It kind of just built up to this point. That's pretty much it.
Since Birthday has done so well for you, since you've gotten a lot of attention with it, has that caused you to kind of take it more seriously long term in terms of the solo career? Or?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
From the point I released the song, just the positive feedback that I got kind of gave me the drive to move forward with more than just this song.
Yeah.
I've been writing like crazy. I'm actually going to the studio in April to record a CD in New York. I guess one of the biggest reasons why I decided to move forward with this is just how many people shared my song on Facebook and tweeted it on Twitter and just things like that. It kind of I got way more of an outreach from people that I don't even know yet.
Yeah.
Just for this song that, you know, it was such a personalized song. It wasn't something that was so broad.
Right.
And people were turning it into something that, you know, I've got messages that were, you know, the guys showing their girlfriends this song on their birthday and stuff like that. And that's really why I do this.
That is really cool. That is really cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
That must be an amazing feeling. And in terms of going back and you're going to be recording more stuff, are you doing an EP or a full album? Or what are you doing?
It's kind of hard to say. As of right now, it's kind of in the demo stage, just kind of a 4-track type thing. So I guess you could call it an EP. That's kind of my plan for now. But obviously in the future, I want to focus more on singles and things like that and promoting those, because I feel like in a market nowadays where people are not so much about buying music and things like that, it's kind of hard for a local artist to find the funding and the backing behind doing a full release.
Yeah. It's interesting too that you bring that up, because one of the interesting things for me in the course of doing the show, and I think it's been 6 years now that we've been doing Local Outbreak, talking to different guests about what goes into these decisions, you know, some people I have on, they approach it like you do, and they're thinking about it more in terms of singles, and some still insist on doing a full album. Some would prefer to do an EP, and it's been really interesting to get different perspectives on, you know, the nature of the business, because if we were having this same conversation, I don't know, 15 years ago, maybe even only 10 years ago, probably only 10 years ago, it would go, I assume, kind of differently, in that you wouldn't necessarily be thinking more in terms of, you know, well, maybe it's better to just do singles, you know, because you kind of have that flexibility now with where we are in the business, where you can just release things online as you record them and kind of feed the machine, you know, or you can hold back and put out an album. And it's kind of cool that we live in a time where you have that kind of flexibility.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Do you think that, are you just going to put these out strictly online, or are you going to try to put out some sort of physical product? Or?
I know the CD, I'm definitely going to do a physical CD for it, even if it's just a 4-track. Just because I feel like, you know, it's very rewarding just to even have the CD, but to have a physical copy that, you know, people can hold in their hands, and you know, I just want to be able to unwrap my own CD. That's mostly it, I guess. But, it'll just be a very rewarding feeling.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, in terms of your solo career, so at this point we just have the single itself. We're going to have you back in a couple of months when you have more of your solo work, obviously.
Stoked.
But in the meantime, this is cool. We'll play some Anchor Line stuff.
Great.
You know, because we were talking earlier, I'm a fan. What do you want to play from Anchor Lines?
All right, let's start with the most recent song, Hollow Eyes.
Okay, and when you say most recent, how long ago was this?
This got released. Let me think for a second. This got released, and I want to say February actually. It was February of last year. So
okay, so it's still
the most recent.
Pretty recent,
but you know, it's kind of, I guess, fading out as far as what's fresh.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was a song that we recorded right here in Manchester with my friend Matt. We're just, you know, we were stoked on the outcome of it, and cool. I guess it's the most recent one.
Okay, great. All right, let's hear it. So this is Hollow Eyes from Anchor Lines here on Local Outbreak on IPM Nation.
Your life and stay. I'm
Local Outbreak on IPM Nation. This is Matt from IPM Nation. We are here at the studio at 50 Canal Street in downtown Laconia, New Hampshire. By the way, I just want to remind everybody, of course, that Local Outbreak now is heard every Saturday night at 9 p.m. and then replayed every Wednesday at 7 p.m. on 100.1 The Planet, New Hampshire's Real Rock. You can also find the show streaming on our new IPM Nation 24/7 streaming channel at ipmnation.com. We do play the show there the same time it airs on The Planet, and then we archive them all, ipmnation.com/local outbreak, going all the way back to the beginning of the show. I think we're in year 6. But honestly, it's all kind of a blur, so I'm not even sure about that. It might still be year 5. I really don't know.
Awesome.
We're chatting tonight with Luke Dimond, formerly of the band Anchor Lines, which is why we're playing some Anchor Lines stuff. But also at the top of the show, we featured his solo single Birthday, and he's now establishing a solo career. By the way, what are you majoring in?
IT, actually. I'm going for as a networking administrator at NHTI.
Good.
Staying locally for now.
Yeah,
We don't know.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Do you go full time?
Yep, full time right now.
Good. How long have you been in college?
This is my second semester, so just a couple months.
Yeah,
this is all new to me.
Did the decision to kind of wrap things up with Anchor Lines? I assume that was the school thing factored into that.
Everyone kind of had their own things, but for me, it was definitely school and financial obligations and, things that affect a music career at such a young age.
Oh, yeah. Was that a hard decision?
It was a very hard decision.
Yeah.
Mostly because, even just after us talking about the disbandment made us all upset because we were used to seeing each other two times a week when we weren't touring and then every day when we were touring. So it was hard.
It becomes like a family.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So you guys, did you tour the whole country or when you went out?
We did, as we went down, we didn't really go down like all the way down south. We went to like North Carolina and then we did more like Midwest. Like we played Chicago a lot. We played Nashville, places like that. Kind of the hip and happening music places, I guess you could say in the middle portion of the United States.
Yeah.
But, we went on, probably 10 different tours.
Wow.
Maybe 8 different tours. Some smaller than others. And it kind of was just like a super rewarding feeling, even if they weren't the best of tours.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things that made the disbandment super hard for us.
Oh yeah.
The nonstop touring or the touring happening a lot less to nothing.
Right. Well, you guys accomplished a lot. Even just going out and doing those tours. That's a lot. I don't want this to sound wrong, but it's a lot more than a lot of people around here in the scene, figure out how to do or manage to do. We kind of assume that a show like this, a lot of people who listen to it are probably people who are either active in the local scene, local musicians or are observers of it or are tangentially connected in some way. Do you have any kind of advice for some of those people who want to be able to do that, who want to just, not play shows around here, but actually get out on the road and be able to successfully tour?
For us, it's kind of more about doing your research and finding out who to talk to. And, it's always nice to, book your own tours, but for the sake of not playing in bars and stuff like that every night, which is fun. We did that for our first 2 tours.
Yeah.
Actually find promoters, people who rent out clubs, things like that. And, get in touch with them on a personal level. Especially if you're a small band that doesn't have the reputation yet to have a booking agent or a manager. It's always nice to reach out personally and see if there's anything that other people can do for you. Because chances are if the talent's there and if the drive's there, that someone's willing to help you. Right. And it's not even a sense of being lucky and being able to go out on these tours. It's really just do your research and just try hard and you'll get it.
Yeah. And the networking is such a key part of that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that should come naturally as a musician, I feel like. The networking thing. You should always be networking.
So many people are so bad at it. Or I think too, part of it is people who seem like they might be good at it, people who are very social and comfortable interacting with others, but they don't kind of understand, it's great to be able to connect with people, but you also got to get that business card.
Oh, absolutely. I got a pocket full of them right now.
Exactly.
That's how you got to be.
Right. It's those aspects of it that not everyone gets. And when you get those, obviously it gives you a tremendous advantage.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's very cool. And also, too, I would think with a band like Anchor Lines, you kind of have to be able to get out and do tours, or, like you were talking about, renting a hall and whatnot, because it's not like that kind of band can go and play your typical bar.
No. I mean, at first, there's always those promoters all over the U.S. that usually they're younger people, and they'll book, 100 cap rooms that are usually dive bars or something like that.
Yeah.
And, they'll fill them up, which is great.
Oh, yeah.
But at the same time, you can only do that for so long until it becomes tedious. And for some people, I know it gets discouraging after a while. Not for me. I had so much fun doing it.
Yeah.
But, your first time through these markets is always going to be, not the best show.
Right.
But if you're gaining the following in those areas, then promoters are more willing to work with you for bigger venues and things such as that.
Right.
Which is awesome.
You're building something in each of those markets. And
just got to stay active. That's it.
Right, exactly. And you mentioned another key thing there too, not getting discouraged.
Oh, absolutely.
That is so important.
You can't.
Because it's easy to get discouraged.
You're in the music industry, you're going to get discoured, but hide it if you have to. Hide it if you have to.
Exactly. That's excellent advice. Absolutely. Do you have intentions to do the same thing with the solo career, or are you kind of
as far as traveling, just with the experiences in Anchor Lines, I kind of told myself I was going to take a break from touring for a while.
Yeah.
And with that, it's just I'm working more on my online presence and things like that, because
which is
that's
very
super important.
Yeah.
Nowadays people listen to the radio all the time, but if you don't have a Facebook page and you're not active on that, and your YouTube page isn't being watched, then it's going to be extremely hard for you to gain the exposure that you're looking for.
Right, absolutely.
So that's what I'm mainly focusing on for now.
Yeah, not only, the exposure from fans or prospective fans, but from the industry too.
Absolutely,
they don't, if you want to be taken seriously, you got to have all your bases covered there. So, very cool. And you had mentioned too that you went on the Warped Tour with another band?
I did. I drove and kind of did the techie style, just bottom of the line job on Warped Tour.
Yeah.
But it was probably the best experience of my life.
No kidding.
Not sleeping and driving a van and trailer all night, it gets tedious. It does.
Sure.
But at the same time, it was just such a rewarding feeling to be able to hang out with bands such as, Yellow Card, not to name drop.
Yeah.
But things like that. That's things I dreamt about when I was a younger kid.
Oh, yeah.
Very, very rewarding feeling doing that.
Yeah, you learn a lot. And, as anyone too who's been on the road knows, you don't get a lot of rest, but you're kind of running on the adrenaline of it though. So you kind of don't notice.
You don't. You really
notice,
don't.
But so how long was that for? How long did you do that?
We were on it for about 3.5 weeks. We weren't on the full tour.
Okay.
But I mean, it was probably one of the best experiences just because we got to do the Middle East states.
Yeah.
And then we got up into Canada too.
Nice.
Which I had never even been to Canada.
Yeah.
So, this is my first time utilizing my passport.
Yeah.
And doing stuff like that was just, traveling is awesome.
Yeah.
And then traveling with Warped Tour is even better because it's a vacation and it's like summer camp for bands.
Right.
It was literally summer camp and it was awesome.
That's very cool. And what, Paris was the band that you
It's actually PVRIS.
Okay.
So it's a little confusing, but I'm sure a lot of people have heard of them because they're blowing up like crazy right now.
Yeah.
If you haven't heard of them, check them out because they're awesome.
I've heard their name. I need to look them up because they're from here, right?
Somewhat. Okay. Brian, who's one of my good friends, is from the Barnstead area.
Okay.
And then everyone else is kind of from the Massachusetts, southern New Hampshire area.
Gotcha.
So, yes,
okay.
From here, I guess.
Okay, because I can't remember who it was, but somebody else had mentioned them to me. I've heard their name on this show before. I can't remember.
They're on a world tour right now. Big stuff.
I probably tried, now that I'm thinking about it, I probably tried to look them up and couldn't because they spell their name weird. But
it's okay.
That's the one pitfall of that.
Yep.
No, that's very cool. And that experience, too, obviously ties into the networking thing that we were talking about, too, because I'm sure you made a lot of great connections with that.
Oh, absolutely. That was kind of what I was saying earlier with, me finding so much more to music than I had in my head before, because I met all these people, and I met people who were on Warped Tour, not even on the tour. They were following the tour and selling their CDs and networking like crazy.
Oh, that's cool.
I was like, these people are crazy.
They've got it,
crazy, but they've got it. They've got
that ethic that you need, yeah.
And if you're willing to not get any sleep, drive yourself for months upon end, just trying to sell your CDs and trying to get your name out there, there's a lot of respect built up in that. And that's kind of something that really opened my eyes and made me think of other ways that I could really push myself as a solo musician.
Right. Hey, by the way, this is kind of tangent, but when you went to Canada, you brought your passport because supposedly you have to now ever since 9/11.
Yep.
Did you actually have to show it though when you got there? Because I've heard different things that sometimes they don't bother and sometimes they do.
It's actually really weird because when we were headed into Canada, we were told that we were gonna just go in and they'd be fine with it, and that we'd have problems getting back into the U.S.
Really?
But the weirdest thing is we actually got stopped and like pulled apart our trailer and was like searching through our van, everything.
Musicians.
And
there must be drugs.
It was super hard because it was just like we sat there for hours and I was tired because I drove all night, and then they ended up running all of our passports, doing like background checks, crazy stuff. And then eventually they let us go. And then on the way back into the U.S., they didn't check our passports. They just said, you know what, go. You guys are good.
Yeah.
And we were so confused as to why that was like that.
That's what I've heard, is that it's extremely inconsistent.
Yeah.
I've been to Canada, but it was all pre 9/11.
Yeah.
I haven't had that.
Things have definitely got a little crazier.
But no cavity searches, I assume.
No cavity searches. No cavity searches.
Thank God for small favors.
Yep. Right.
That's good. Well, why don't we play another Anchor Lines track? What do you want to play?
All right. Let's play Spineless because I think this is probably our biggest song. This one reached 200,000 views on YouTube.
Wow.
And we recorded this one with Matt from Our Last Night, and he actually, you can't really hear him, but he sings in the background.
Oh, no kidding.
Behind me and Jeff singing, which is really cool. But we'll play Spineless.
Oh, very cool. Okay. All right. So this is Spineless from Anchor Lines. We're here with Luke Dimond tonight on Local Outbreak on IPM Nation.
I shall remember what you forgot. I stood by you. No matter what, but things aren't always what they say. Don't prove it that you're weak. Just know you're dead.
Local Outbreak on IPM Nation. This is Matt from IPM Nation. We are here at the studio at 50 Canal Street. I'll just remind you quickly, too. Come on down, check it out. Very cool place. And right in downtown Laconia, thestudionh.com is the website. Come on down, say hello to Melissa. Very cool little funky gift shop, and there's always some art on the walls. I think every couple of weeks the art on the walls gets changed out, actually. So very, very cool. Please, what's that? Friday night, the art's changing out. Well, that will have already happened when this airs. But it will always change again. How often does it change on average? About once a month. Okay, yeah. So come on down, check it out. And like I always say, please support your local businesses, very important, as well as your local music scene. It all ties together, or we find a way to tie it all together here. And don't forget, to centralnhevents.com. If you need a DJ for your event, go to centralnhevents.com. And also Tweak Sound and Mastering, another big part of what makes this show possible. Tweaksound.com is the website. Don't forget, to IPM Nation streams from the Uptown Auto Repair Studio in Manchester, New Hampshire. And let's see, what am I forgetting now? Well, just remind you, too, that in addition to being able to hear the show on 100.1 The Planet, if you're in central New Hampshire, you can also get it from anywhere in the world. IPMNation.com, our 24/7 live stream airs the show, as well as The Planet, every Saturday at 9 p.m. and then replays every Wednesday at 7 p.m. And we do archive all the shows, IPMNation.com/local outbreak. And once we put the show there, it stays there forever and ever, all the way back to episode 2. Episode 1 is lost. No idea where episode 1 is.
You had one job.
Actually, I wasn't the host then, so it really doesn't matter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm not the original host. I think I started at episode 3 officially.
Oh, okay, cool.
3 or 4, yeah, so it really doesn't even matter. I'd like to have the complete archive, but, what can you do? I don't know where it is. But anyway, so we've been chatting tonight with Luke Dimond, formerly of Anchor Lines, now embarking on a solo career. Before we wrap up, so let's talk again about Birthday, where people can find it, your new solo single.
Of course, you can just always go on YouTube and just search Luke Dimond Birthday, and it'll pop up. That's kind of the go-to for that. I would say the URL, but I would just really confuse myself. It's got a lot of J's, a lot of K's.
Yeah, that's all right.
Kind of crazy. But other than that, you can find my single on www.lukedimond.com, which is LUKEDIMOND. No way.
Okay.
And then also on my Facebook page, facebook.com/Luke Dimond Jams.
Okay. Excellent. And we're going to have you back in a couple months when you got some more solo stuff.
Yep.
Will Anchor Lines too? If obviously, we've been playing some Anchor Lines stuff tonight too. Your former band until pretty recently.
Pretty recently, yep.
And that's great stuff. If people want to find more Anchor Lines, where should they go?
More Anchor Lines. Really, everything that I do, including my solo stuff, is on Spotify, iTunes, and all those digital media outlets.
Okay,
that would be your best bet.
Yeah.
I know it's on iHeartRadio and obviously YouTube, big thing again.
Yeah.
Facebook.com/AnchorLines.
Yeah.
One word, not 2 words. That's pretty much it.
Excellent.
There's not really any more outlets for that.
Yeah. And it's very Googleable.
Very Googleable.
So,
Googleable. That's a good word.
Isn't it? Yeah.
That's a good word.
What does the name mean, by the way, Anchor Lines?
I believe I actually joined the band after they had, done the name and things like that. But I believe it was actually in a poem. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff. Call and just get angry. But I think it was in a poem that Jeff wrote.
Okay.
But I could be wrong.
Yeah.
And people always ask this, and I used to always just point the finger towards Jeff.
Right.
He's the guy to talk to for that. But
there you go.
That's what I think it is.
Yes.
That's what I think.
Jeff, call us live at, I forgot the number. Never mind, Jeff. Skype us if you can. I don't know.
Something like that.
Very cool. Well, Luke, this has been great. Thanks for coming in.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
We'll have you back soon, and we'll finish off with one more Anchor Lines track.
Awesome,
what do you want to play?
Let's do Reset.
All right. This is Reset. Oh, it's appropriate. You're kind of resetting your
here
career.
we go. Here we go.
All right, very good. All right. This is Reset from Anchor Lines here on Local Outbreak on IPM Nation.
IPMNation.com.